Welcome, everybody, to this episode of The Monthly Blend, a monthly video podcast brought to you by Next, powered by Shulman Rogers and the Big Idea Connectpreneur community. I'm Tien, Wong, founder and host of the Big Idea Connectpreneur community, which is a global community of over 25,000 investors, founders, and business leaders from around the world. I'm also CEO of Opus 8, which helps companies and alternative investment managers raise money through our network of over 3,200 accredited private investors, angels, and family offices throughout the United States. Along with my co-host, Anthony Millin, who's the founder and chair of Next, powered by Shulman Rogers, we are pleased to bring you this monthly video podcast, which will cover trends, information, interesting research, and tidbits, as well as fascinating interviews with game changers and newsmakers here in the Washington, D.C., Baltimore Metroplex. Anthony and I started this podcast a little over a year ago as a way to increase awareness of cool, innovative happenings in our region and to break down silos and serve as a mechanism to do our part to bring the region together and to help foster innovation and entrepreneurship here. And today we're totally thrilled to have a conversation with two awesome leaders who are changing the landscape of small business in this region, one in DC and one in Baltimore. We have Carl Brown, who is the State Executive Director of the District of Columbia's Small Business Development Center on the campus of Howard University. Carl has a wealth of small business development knowledge with over 25 years of experience in consulting, training, human resources, sales, marketing, procurement, and contract administration in both the public and private sectors. And Carl is also a well-known media personality himself with several shows and programs under his belt. Carl's counterpart in Baltimore we have today as well, Jennifer Funn. Jennifer is director of the Baltimore region of the Small Business Development Center at the University of Maryland. And this new region, relatively new region, will provide services to businesses and entrepreneurs in Baltimore City and Baltimore County. And I'd love to give Jennifer and Carl the opportunity to self-introduce themselves a little more fully. So why don't we start with Jennifer? Jennifer, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, it is more than my pleasure. Part of my job with the Small Business Development Center and my personal outreach to my community is to expand our services to the entrepreneurs in Baltimore City, Baltimore County. After the pandemic, as we came out and we pivoted, so many businesses started. They had no choice but the survival, but, many great things come out of hardship. I've been the regional director here in Baltimore City, Baltimore County for a year now, but I've been with the SBDC for 13 years. And ironically, my first assignment was in an underserved community in Prince George's County to reach out to small businesses that were located in a food desert. So that got me up and ready for the challenges to service the constituents here in Baltimore City and Baltimore County. And I am a former business owner myself, and ironically, I'm a former client of the SBDC. So I've done the full circle.
And I can tell you, she's doing a fabulous job out there in Baltimore City and Baltimore County. My name is Carl Brown, and I am the state director for Washington, D.C., and other titles, executive director. And primarily what we provide to our clients is one-on-one confidential counseling, what we call loan package review. We have a lot of relationships with banks and CDFIs and other financial institutions to help our clients get that funding that they need, because that's what all businesses need: money to operate, money to grow, money to do everything. So we focus on that. Then we do a lot of webinars. We've done about 90 so far this year, and we're on track to do about 130 for the remainder of the year. Another thing that we do is industry and business research. Demographic information is critical when you're looking to put a business in a certain area. As Jennifer pointed out, we have food deserts. So you want to know where those food deserts are if you're looking to establish a mini market or a supermarket or something of that nature. So that, and that's how we teach our businesses that you need to have this critical business intelligence to make good, sound decisions. So those are just a few of the things that we do.
Well, thank you, Carl, and we look forward to getting a little deeper with you. Now I'd like to turn things over to my co-host, Anthony Millin, who is an entrepreneur himself. He is a venture capitalist, and he's also one of the nation's foremost attorneys who focus on early stage companies and startups. Anthony.
Great. Thank you, Tien, and thank you, Jennifer and Carl. We're going to start this segment off looking a little bit at our ecosystem for startups and entrepreneurs and small businesses. And what I'd like to start with is just to hear from both of you what you see as you look around our region are some of our regional strengths and what are some of our regional challenges. And maybe for this, we'll start with Carl.
Okay. Let me say that in the District of Columbia, we have one of the strongest small business ecosystems that I know of. And I've been traveling around this country talking to different business leaders and community organizations, and business owners, and not just traveling, but also on the radio, doing my show, the Small Business Report. Let me tell you, we work like hand in glove. We work together. And, just to give you an example, the district has an organization called the Department of Small and Local Business Development. We work with them. We just did a workshop with them on Monday, and we had like 75 people in the room. I mean, it was standing room only, working together. We work with DCRA, which is the Department of Consumer and Regulatory Affairs. They say, well, why do you work with them? Every business in the District of Columbia has to register their business with the DCRA. So it makes a natural partnership. They have provided computers, office space in the conference room to us so that we can do workshops over there. We can meet with the businesses and do counseling on site at their location. We work with the library system, the DC Public Library System. And you say, well, why do you work with them? Well, guess what? They provide all of the business research tools for free. Okay. And we teach the businesses how to use those tools, how to conduct research, and they do it for free. Now, we give them the same information in my shop for free, but we have space at the library. The library has set aside 2 offices for us, one on the first floor, one on the second floor. So if we have real, true partnerships, and we have a big tent. Now, we work with organizations like the National Disabilities Institute, Gallaudet University. We reach out to all the universities in the city. We have office space over at American University at the College of Law. I mean, so we leave no stone unturned. We all work together. I have a lot of those folks on my advisory board, like district has this program called District Bridges. So they literally walk up and down the street and meet with the small business owners. And then they bring that intelligence to us. And I said, well, hey, Carl, this business needs X, Y, and Z. And we go in and start working with them because every business doesn't know about us. And so you have to have partnerships, true partnerships, where you work together and disseminate information, collaborate, like we do with the workshops and everything else. So, and then, like I said, they're on my advisory board as well. So I believe that we have one of the best small business ecosystems in the country,
Great. Thank you. It's very exciting to hear, and you've seen a lot of what's out there. So to hear you point to the strength of that ecosystem and the partnerships and the importance of these partnerships. Jennifer, what do you see in terms of some of the strengths and weaknesses for small businesses in our ecosystem?
Well, I think to Carl's point, it takes a village, that we all need to come together. Resources and partnerships are so crucial to service constituents in the state of Maryland and District of Columbia, and we might as well say any SBDC client throughout the United States. We here in Maryland, we partner with the SBA, as Carl does as well, but also with state agencies here in Maryland, such as Housing Community Development and the Department of Labor. But even more so, the partnerships with the community colleges, as well as the universities in the area. I as well have offices in Stevenson University, which is in Baltimore County, Morgan State University, which is at HBCU. I have recently formed an outstanding partnership with Coppin State. With our partnership with Coppin State is we've opened up a business clinic in West Baltimore for businesses that survived the pandemic or entrepreneurs that felt that it was the right time to step into business ownership. But it's not just the SBDC and Coppin State, but it's also University of Maryland's law school, Francis King Carey Law School at University of Maryland University of Maryland, Baltimore, provides free legal assistance to participants in that business, entrepreneur, sustainability workshop. And we just received a new partner in that endeavor. The last spring semester, 2022, was our first cohort, and we're getting all geared up for the fall semester. And our new partner is the Smith School of Business at University of Maryland, Baltimore, where now we're not just having undergrad business students working, but we also have master's degree students working with businesses. All of these services are free. We have all come together, and the thing is, we want these businesses that have historically been underserved, isolated, to remain sustainable, and with that, being able to grow. But there's also partnerships with a library system here in Baltimore where we offer Spanish classes to help people to start their businesses. So myself, on my staff, I do have bilingual consultants, as well as, I think it's also important, my consultants not only serve people in Baltimore City and Baltimore County, but they're like me, we're also residents. So we have a commitment to see our clients succeed because we are residents, we live here, and we drive past these businesses every day, and we know what they need.
So it sounds that you also see these partnerships, both university partnerships and being based in this region, a lot of the national organizations based here that you're able to partner with are strengths. Jennifer, you mentioned in the pandemic, one of the things that we would be interested to understand is we're now several years into the COVID pandemic and still going on. What have you seen for the startup and small business ecosystem in terms of some of the negative impacts or hardships that are brought about? And also, we've heard a lot as we've spoken to different people on the show that there've also been some unpredicted and unintended silver linings or benefits that came out in certain ways as well. So what do you see as some of kind of those negatives and positives from COVID as they have impacted companies that you work with and support?
Well, what was really, I think, heartbreaking was when the PPP loans came out and so many minority-owned small businesses, when they're not able to obtain those funds to keep their businesses afloat. Why they couldn't obtain those funds? Not having relationships with financial institutions, maybe not having something as simple as a business account. That was really very heartbreaking. But I think on the other hand, it was an awakening for those businesses to see that, you know, these things that we've been hammering into them that was important for their survival of their business, that they really needed to concentrate on. Now, I will say, and I'm smiling, I know we're on radio, but I think about so many of my clients that were able to pivot to just think, I don't want to say think out the box, but thought within their circle to turn things around to keep themselves going. I had, at the time of the pandemic, I was a consultant. I hadn't received my assignment as regional director at that time, but I always think about a client of mine who was a caterer, and he was a big time caterer. I mean, he had, Christmas parties at Amazon. He was doing great. When the pandemic hit, he lost all his business. But you know what he did? He should really get a trophy for perseverance, because he made up some flyers. He went to barbershops, beauty salons within this community, and went back to selling dinners. And I believe it was Easter week. He made like $4,000 on the weekend delivering dinners to homes. So, we have like these grand stories of successes through the pandemic, but it's those small businesses that don't get the recognition, the quiet hustler, so to speak, that really prevailed. And as a business consultant, I was so proud of their perseverance that they just kept going.
That's a great success story and a great example of perseverance and innovation in terms of what people are able to do. Carl, what are some of the positives and negatives you've personally seen with companies that you've worked with?
Well, let me just piggyback on what Jennifer said about the PPP and the EIDL. I had Beverly Winstead and Lisa Anderson. Lisa Anderson is a CPA. Beverly Winstead is a tax attorney. Both of them were working for me, and they were working with our clients during the height of the pandemic. And they came back and said to me that, hey, Carl, the reasons why our companies are not qualifying for the PPP and the EIDL is because, like Jennifer pointed out, they have no business bank account. They have no relationship with the bank. And they might have been banking there 5, 10, 15 years, but no relationship at all. The bank doesn't know them. It's just a number. You're running money through the account, and there's no relationship, no nothing. There's thousands of accounts, and you don't stand out at all. Another reason that we found out is that some of them haven't even paid taxes in years. Others were not in compliance with DCRA, which you have to pay for your basic business license. So all of these things contributed to them not being able and not being ready to get funding. And so what we did and what we're doing now is we put together a financial literacy program, and we just launched it last Friday, and we call it Financial Fridays. And every Friday we're going to have a quick webinar on financial literacy, but I hired a bunch of counselors that focus just on that. And so we segmented the market from kindergarten through 8th grade. I have one team of folks working on that segment, and they're working on putting together a cartoon and a comic book to teach kids about basic banking, investment, all these things that they need to know so that we can change their behavior as they grow older. I have another consultant working on high school and college kids on how to prepare for college, whether it's community college or even trade school. You have to pay for it some kind of way. And so we have that consultant working on that segment. And then I have my regular consultants working with our small business community. And then we're seeping into the fraternities, sororities, civic organizations, churches. I've done webinars with churches, church ministries, sororities, fraternity. I mean, we're leaving no stone unturned. We're reaching out to the communities of color, Black and Hispanic, to make sure that they understand financial literacy, so that we are not in the same position 10, 15, 20 years from now, even 3 to 5 years. So we're trying to make a generational change, and it's all about behavior. You just got to change that behavior. Now, when I talk to my banking partners, they all say the same thing. It's like not on cue, but this is the way it is. You must network with your banking partner.
That kind of assistance, like you said, that's generational and that make sure that this doesn't repeat itself is really important work. And so, I really commend you for all of that. The last thing I'd like to touch on in this first segment is when you look forward 5 years, what is your vision and what would you like to see looking backwards that we've accomplished or been able to achieve over the next 5 years? And what steps would you say we need to take now to achieve that vision that you hope for and plan for 5 years down the road for our small business and startup ecosystem? Jennifer?
Well, for me, again, having been a former business owner, I closed my business in the last recession. I owned a restaurant in Anne Arundel County. One thing that I see is a struggle for women and minority-owned businesses. One thing that I do with the Maryland SBDC is I facilitate a women's access to capital annually. And then annually, another event I do is a women's conference, because everything's not just cut and dry. It's more than having access to capital. Really, it's a whole lifestyle and a life balance. Nothing's perfect, but it's still a balance. So what I would like to see in my region over the next 5 years is really a strong outreach to different pockets in Baltimore City and Baltimore County to promote entrepreneurship for minorities and women-owned businesses, for them to be able to move out of the startup phase. Many businesses, minority businesses, never move out of the startup phase. I want to see them move out of the startup phase and, to Carl's point, to put themselves in a position to be a legacy business. It was such a pleasure that I worked with a business in Prince George's County that the parents started in 1980. It was a catering company. And what I assisted them with was a transition of now they're retiring and their daughter's taken over the catering business, has become a licensed chef and really doing fabulous and beautiful work. Food isn't just about tasting good, it's looking good too. So she really does fabulous work. So, that's what I want to see. That's what my goal is in this position as regional director, to reach out to Turner Station here in Baltimore County that is located, that's a historic segregated community, and to promote entrepreneurship and to help them start their businesses. Also, even when I do workshops, starting your business, it costs money to start your business before you get your first customer. And, it's unfortunate that a lot of people look for grants to start their businesses. They are so far and few between and on many levels unrealistic. But, there are many things such as the business clinic that we're starting in West Baltimore, outreach and having workshops in community centers and making things available. And again, to get the word out, I'm sure Carl feels the same way. We provide a free service, and it's just so sad that so many people that they don't know that we're there. I always introduce myself as your servant, your tax dollars at work, reach out to me, let me help you, especially like for me, I know the pain of being in business. I know the pain of startup. And I also want to say, if someone closes a business, it doesn't mean that it's a failure. What it is a pivot. it's another direction. As I always say, if it wasn't for my entrepreneurial journey, I wouldn't be here today talking to you. So, that's what I would like to see. I would like to see minority and women-owned businesses in Baltimore City and Baltimore County have the opportunity to move past the startup phase, grow, and remain sustainable. And from the numbers and the data that we've collected, there are a lot of minority businesses, including women-owned businesses, that are here in this region. And they're always the greatest amount of attendees in any event that we have. And that shows me that they are looking and seeking assistance.
Well, that is a wonderful mission and goal for the next 5 years. Carl, what is on your mission list or vision list for the next 5 years?
Well, I already hit upon it. Financial literacy, that is one of the biggest ones because we have to change that behavior. A lot of people that are in business, like we talked about earlier, Jennifer just finished talking about, is money, And so you go into business and you're looking for money. You need money to keep the doors open, whether it's in cyberspace somewhere, it's home base, or you have retail, brick and mortar. But you have to have money. So I would like to see more micro grants given to small businesses that, with a caveat, that you have to work with a small business development center to qualify for this grant, because we have the expertise, the knowledge, the skills and ability to help you and to help you grow. And now you have a little bit of funding that there's virtually no strings attached other than having to work with, whether it's SBDC, a women's business center, or SCORE, but somebody. You have to work with somebody to get this funding, and it will be given to you incrementally, not just all at one time, because then, something bad might happen. So that's one thing. Another thing is baby boomers are still retiring at $10,000 to $12,000 a month, right? And a lot of them have small businesses. What are they doing? They're cutting the lights out, closing the door, locking it, and walking away. In my view, I'm seeing money left on the table. Okay, there's a ton of money still sitting there. You have a book of business. You have clients that are paying. So say you got Carl Brown's tax service, and I've been there in the community 15, 20 years. Now I'm retiring. All right. Nobody's buying the business, taking over the business. I haven't even thought about that. I'm just going, hey, I'm moving to Miami. I'm going to lay on the beach for the next how many years, and that's it. I'm not thinking about, selling the business because I don't know that I can. And then, what I'm trying to do with folks is to educate them that let's leverage your intellectual ability to get this business, work out a deal with the owner to say, hey, let's do evaluation on your business, find out how much you're generating, and then we'll give you a percentage of that monthly while you're retired. You weren't expecting that, and now you're getting extra money in retirement. I take over the business. So what it says, Carl Brown and Associates, my name is Joe. It doesn't matter, because then I got a plan for that, but we'll talk about that later. And then the last thing I would like to see is, two more things. ESOPs, employee stock ownership program, that's like buying an existing business, because what happens when the owner says, hey, I'm going to retire, I'm walking out the door, the employees now have to find new employment. When they can take over that business because they already know the business. So that's another thing. We're not talking about that enough. Last thing that I would like to see is more artificial intelligence in small businesses. Because I tell you, when I go and Google something, I search something online, it shows up in all of my social media. So say I was looking for some vitamins the other day. all of a sudden on Facebook, Instagram, I mean, vitamins. Small businesses need to have that intelligence as well, you know? So if you live, say, in Washington, D.C., that you got a new storefront, say you're selling vegetables and fruit, nobody knows about you, but if they do a Google search of fruit in Ward 8, they can find you. And now everybody that's looking for fruit, they can find you online, like SEO. But, so I would like to see those things. So grants, AI, buy existing businesses, and ESOPs. Those are my things.
Great. And again, I think each one of those is very impactful. And so that also is a great set of goals for the next 5 years. I would now like to hand it back to Tien, who has some additional questions a little more focused on organizations that you both lead.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anthony. And thank you, Carl and Jennifer. And I just drilling down a little bit on your answers to Anthony's last question regarding your 5-year view. Let's bring it down to, say, 12 months. And Jennifer, I'd like to speak more specifically to your comments about trying to get small business, minority-owned business, women-owned business to the next level out of that startup, sort of like a rocket ship taking off. Mm-hmm. How do you measure success? Like, what are your top 1 or 2 rocks that you're trying to tackle to achieve that? Because you got to walk before you run. And how are you measuring success, or how is your organization, defining it? Because you guys are doing so many things, Well,
the success can be measured so many different ways, and for the individual business owner, I guess that's a subjective question, because there's different levels of success. But I want to say, what we do, the first step of success is being able to launch a business, registering your business with the state, getting your first dollar from your first paying customer. That's a success. And, a lot of times when I speak to my clients, I always talk about a lot of times a small step can have a really big impact, but of course we take a look at how many loans were awarded. We look at the length of the business. We looked that you were able to make it past 2 years. But again, that's kind of a loaded question, because of myself, again, as being a former business owner, every step along the way, I always applaud my clients. Every step is a step in the right direction. And, kind of going back to something that Kyle was talking about, working with baby boomers. I've run several programs with baby boomers, but there's another side of it. It's baby boomers that worked all their lives for the man, and now they're getting ready to retire, and they want to launch their own business with the skills that they learned working all of those 30 years for somebody else. And in the Baby Boomer Entrepreneur Program, it was really fabulous. It was a Baltimore County detective that also knew how to sew and design beautiful clothes. And she was a member of a very serious jump out squad in Baltimore County, but had a totally different side of her. I had a physicist that had designed a modular that could go on top of row houses in Baltimore to give you additional living space. So it's not just the baby boomer that was an entrepreneur and is trying to retire and close their business, but it's the baby boomer that sees their retirement at 60, 65 as an opportunity to have a whole nother life experience in business. So, there are many things within the next 12 months. In the next 12 months, I would also like to implement a mentorship program. When I was a restaurant owner, there was nobody that looked like me. There were no women, and there was nobody. I'm a person of color. There was no one there that looked like me. But I was very fortunate that through SCORE, which is a organization of retired professionals that avail themselves in mentorship. I was lucky that I had a mentor through SCORE. He didn't look anything like me. He had a handlebar mustache. He was 6'5". He was a white man that had been in the restaurant business for 50 years. But I will tell you, he taught me things in business that I still use in my position today. So, that is one thing that I'm very interested in implementing over the next 12 months is a mentorship program for women and minority-owned businesses, because I also get calls sometimes from people asking me for assistance that don't live in Baltimore City and don't live in Baltimore County, but they looked at our website and they see that my consultants, that my region is a mixture of all different kinds of people. We're Latina, we're Black, we're Greek. We are a myriad of really the community. And people call me and say that when they looked at the other websites, they want to know if my region can assist them because they can identify with the counselors there that are there to serve. So again, I would like to see more diversity, mentorship, and really assistance in promoting baby boomers, not only people of color and women, to fulfill their entrepreneur dream.
That's fantastic, Jennifer. Thank you for that so much. And, Carl, I your comments were very interesting as well. Looking to change behavior, creating generational change, generational wealth on an exit, education, financial literacy. You're not that you're boiling the ocean, but you got a lot going on. So, and I know Jennifer does too, and all of your counterparts across the Metroplex. But how do you guys prioritize? Or do you just say, hey, I'm just going to try to do the best I can to boil the ocean? Or are there specific areas that you're focused on, like what I would call force multiplier type things, high leverage activities? And then how are you measuring, the progress that you guys are making?
Oh, that's real easy. Let me tell you something. It's about your team. Don't look at me as the person doing everything. I have a wonderful team of folks that are working with me to make sure that all of these things get done. So sharing the vision, I meet with my team on a regular basis and we discuss the vision and the execution of each individual project that we're working on. So I have a restaurant person. She's an executive chef, owned restaurants and retail space, and she is so busy with the restaurants in DC. I have a cybersecurity person. I have an intellectual property person. So, it's not Carl, believe me. So, but what I'm doing is we meet on a regular basis. We meet one-on-one. We talk all the time. We execute as we go. We evaluate whether or not we are being successful. We then, categorize our success stories. We like to see, okay, well, is the restaurant open? Have they hired new people? Because this whole great resignation is real, okay? This is real. I'll just give you some numbers to show it. In 2019, we were working with 800 clients and did a little over 2,000 hours of counseling. In 2020, during the pandemic, we had over 1,600 clients and did 4,600 hours of counseling. In 2021, we had over 1,600 clients again, and we did over, 5,460 hours. And now in 2022, we're on target to do over 6,000 hours of counseling and have close to 2,000 clients. So 800 to 1,600. So that shows you that the great resignation is real. So we're dealing with these folks every day, whether they've been in business or starting a new business. So that puts pressure on those that are already in business because those were their former employees. They're now business owners themselves. So restaurants still don't have full capacity staffing. All right. So how are people juggling that? We're having them, instead of doing breakfast, lunch, and dinner, maybe they only open up for lunch and dinner. All right. Or if they're morning shop, they're doing breakfast and their lunch and then they're closed. So things are happening. We have to change things around. Some have even gone from, they used to be 7 days a week. Now they're 5 days a week. Some have gone from 5 days a week to 4 days a week. So they open Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So, people have to pivot and do different things because they don't have staffing. I've had people call me and say, Carl, I had a guy walk out just now. They came to work, they worked, and they said, I'm going home, and they left. This is real. This is where we are. Before the pandemic, you had employee disengagement, and now you have the Great Resignation. So we've been dealing with this symptomatic problem for a while, and now it's really bubbled up and become an epidemic. But again, it's not all about Carl. It's about his team. I bring together a group of folks that are experts in their field, and then I let them work with our clients to get things done.
Gotcha. Well, thank you so much, and congratulations to everything you and your team is doing, and same thing with Jennifer. And we're almost out of time. I'd like to commend both of you guys so much for the inspiring work you're doing. And I know it's a very, very difficult task. There's so many touch points that you guys have hit on this morning that have really opened up my eyes as well. And I don't envy your tasks because I know how hard it is, and you're moving mountains basically, but we're very grateful to have both of you in our community here. And thank you for all the work you're doing. I have a final question before I turn it back over to Anthony. And that is, how do our listeners get involved? Like, you guys have so many opportunities, it sounds like, for our listeners and our viewers to try to, and they all want to help. These are investors and entrepreneurs and people that really care about our ecosystem. Are there specific areas that you're looking for, or are you just kind of taking, Jennifer, you mentioned mentorship. There's a lot of people that could mentor that are listening to the program. I mean, give us a couple of give us some ideas on how our listeners can get involved. Jennifer, why don't we start with you?
Well, yes, definitely. If you're an experienced business owner and you have some time to give back, to give some guidance, to reach back and bring somebody up beside you, please reach out to us at Maryland, SBDC.org. Again, Maryland spelled out, SBDC.org. But, really what we want to do is to let people know that our services are available. Currently, we're only reaching 2% of businesses here in Baltimore City and Baltimore County. We're here for you. It doesn't cost you anything. You can talk to your friend, you talk to your neighbor, but to Carl's point, we have experts here. Everyone at the SBDC is like me. We're all former business owners. We've all walked the walk. We just don't talk the talk. And in addition, since we're all housed to institutions of higher learning, there are so many services that are available. At University of Maryland, there are programs. There's a Robert H. School of Business, the Ding Center for Entrepreneurship, that works hand in hand with the SBDC, the Academy for Innovation and Entrepreneurship. At Coppin State, there's also an Innovation for Entrepreneurship Center. So there's so many services out there. So really what I want to see the word to get out. You don't have to walk this entrepreneurial journey by yourself, because really being an entrepreneur is not a destination, it's a journey. So we're here to go hand in hand with you from concept, when you got that bubble over your head, to hopefully when you're passing this business down to the next generation. Or even if you close your business and you decide to do something else, we're there for you. And every single one of those things are steps to success. We're there.
Fantastic. Wow, you are an amazing salesperson. I know Carl is as well. So Carl, any areas of focus or gaps that our listeners can help?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you know, we work with the DC Pro Bono Law Clinic, and if there are any lawyers out there that want to service our clients pro bono, we would welcome that. Absolutely. I mean, we're talking micro businesses. So these folks don't have a whole lot of money, but they have ideas and they can really grow with some additional help. And if you got any venture capitalists out there that are willing to take a risk on a small business and then help them kind of mentor them, in addition to what we do, help us help mentor them, we can then help them grow that business. So we would definitely welcome that opportunity, as well as doing webinars. You know, we used to do a lot of stuff in person, but people were saying, hey, you know what? I like the webinar better because I don't have to worry about parking my car, driving over to DC. And, you know, every college campus has plenty of parking, just none available. You know? So, and then we put our webinars on. We have a YouTube channel. We, in addition to the YouTube channel, we put it on our website, and I put them on my website, the Small Business Report.biz. I put them on there. So if anybody wants to do a webinar, some pro bono work, or mentor, our clients, reach out to me. My email is real easy, carl.brown@howard.edu, or just dcsbdc.org, and they can get in touch with me. So, and they can take a look at the website and figure out where they fit in, and then call me, and then we can work it out. So we're always looking for help.
That's wonderful. That's fantastic. Thank you guys so much. And let me turn it back over to Anthony, who'll close out.
Great. Thank you, Tien. And Jennifer and Carl, thank you so much for joining us on today's show. Thank you also so much for your leadership and all of the hard work that you do to support entrepreneurs and small businesses in our region. And we wish you guys a lot of success with the goals that you set out today, that you have both in the coming year and the vision you've set up for the next 5 years. And thanks again for joining us.
Thank you.
Happy to be here.